Everyone, this is Wine Wednesday, the day we always wait for, and we're so excited to be with Belinda Chang, and we have a special guest also, Biz from My Busy Kitchen. That's the only way I ever refer to her. We love working with both Belinda and Biz. They're so fun, and they're so knowledgeable, and we're gonna learn a ton tonight, so we're very excited. We started this online platform because we're all social distancing and sheltering in place. I know we all understand that some of these rules might be lifted soon, but we're still gonna, stick around in case you guys wanna hang out here on Zoom with us. But tonight we're gonna talk about wines. Belinda has two picked for us, and we're gonna talk through those. And then Biz has great recipes that are so easy to follow along. I love cooking off her Instagrams and Instagram stories and her website. So she's gonna show us how to make some ceviche. And then Belinda's gonna tell us why the wines pair well with ceviche. And then for a bonus, Belinda's gonna teach us how to make a quick sangria with maybe both wines. I don't wanna give anything away, but we're very excited. So there's a chat button. Please ask questions, you know where it is. Biz and Belinda love questions. Sarah and I will keep an eye out. And other than that, I'm gonna let Belinda give us a cheers.
Oh, yay. So my name is Belinda Chang, and if you have a glass of wine or something delicious to drink, I think we should give a little toast. Thank you to Amanda and Sarah and Mariano's for giving us a way to connect. I don't know about everyone on screen, but I've been sheltering in place solo for the last 10 weeks now. So it's really great to have a crew so that I'm not drinking alone, because I will drink anything, but I will not drink alone. So all of you are helping us do that. Drink with other people and in company and connect and get a little bit of comfort. But for this episode, I'm also so excited to be with Biz. I've been looking at all of her recipes, and I'm so excited to cook that ceviche along with her today. And we're going to use some of the ingredients from her ceviche in the sangria too. So if you have a little bit that you want to save, you certainly can, because there's a lot of ways to use a lot of the stuff that she's using in a really fun sort of pantry drink, which I think a lot of people drink now, like looking at what's behind the bar or what's in their pantry and then figuring out what to make so that they don't have to shop or get more. So I thought it would be really fun because we've had a lot of different wines together so far over the last couple weeks, but we've never had a canned wine. And I approve, and I loved canned wines for so many reasons. One, you don't have to have a corkscrew. Every time I fly, I forget a corkscrew is in my purse and I get it taken away. So I may be one of the universe's largest consumer of corkscrews. You just pop that sucker open, which I think is so delightful. Two, I love that canned wines are in aluminum cans because recyclable and so easy to deal with. I don't know if anyone here is a boat person. I'm not, because I get really seasick. I think I have some kind of inner ear disorder, which I don't do roller coasters either. But I do love boat life, and I have a lot of friends who really do. And canned wine is really, as I understand it, pretty de rigueur for boat life, right? Because you don't want to deal with glass bottles when you're on the boat. A lot of your friends maybe are drinking beer as well, so you just get the really big cooler. And this actually stays cool and gets cool faster than a bottle of wine, so that's convenient too. So we decided to use this Underwood rosé. Underwood does a bunch of wines, and Mariano's has bottles of Underwood wines. They also have the fizzy rosé, the still rosé, and a lot of different fun stuff. They bottle a lot of really interesting wines. And the great thing here is I got that open, and then I'm just gonna put a straw in it, and I'm ready to go because I love a festive little paper straw, and they have these at Mariano's too.
Love that.
And you're ready to go. So if you want to just sip and not think too hard, you can take a can of wine, a white wine, a rosé wine, a fizzy wine, a still wine, or even red. There are red canned wines as well. Just chill it up. It doesn't matter what color it is or what style it is. The colder it is, the kind of more refreshing of a quaff it's going to be. When wines get a little warmer, they tend to get a little and you have to think about them a little more, and the tannins come forward a little more. So just cold makes it into a quaff. But if you want to take this one like a little more seriously, you could also grab a glass. I have a wine glass here somewhere, or even just a juice glass, and we can sort of evaluate this wine a little bit because we've been having a lot of fun kind of learning together how you judge a wine. And wine, again, doesn't need to be in a traditional wine glass shape. I love to drink it if it's not too serious. And this one's definitely a quaffer. I love to drink it just in a glass. And I mean, look at this beautiful color. I mean, pink, just, it makes me happy and gives me joy. And as it gets warmer here, which it will inevitably at some point here in Chicagoland, like this rosé is going to be a fantastic thing to have. But here's what's interesting about this wine. If anybody has the can and is drinking along with me, well, I hope you're all drinking along with me something delicious. But if you're drinking this Underwood rosé, I think what's interesting about it is it's made from a lot of grapes that you don't normally see together. It's made from a couple of white wine grapes and also a red wine grape. So I think it's sort of interesting to put our noses into it, and you can do that with the can, you can do that with the wine in a glass, and see if we can find the grape varieties that they use to make this wine. So I'm gonna put my nose in, which we love to do. And it says on the back of the can, I think it gives you some aromas that they feel like you should find. They say that it smells like strawberry, watermelon, and peach, which I don't know if you're confirming that. I mean, there's definitely some bright red fruits. There's definitely some kind of riper fruity notes as well. And it's definitely sort of very juicy. But the grapes that they use to make this wine include Riesling, which we're gonna have a Riesling by itself a little later. They use Pinot Noir, which we usually see as a red wine grape, not a super full-bodied one like Cabernet or Merlot, but definitely a delicious and light and brighter style of red wine. They use Muscat and they use Pinot Gris. So they use all these different grapes to come up with this delicious blend, which is a little easier to do in general when you're looking at wines that are maybe at the $5.99 a bottle, $7.99 a bottle. You definitely tend to see more blends than single varieties, because to get enough grapes to do a single variety wine, like 100% Pinot Noir, is a little harder and costs a little more. But I like to put my nose in this and think about the grape varietals and see if I can find them, right? So I put my nose into this one and I definitely find the Pinot Noir character. So anytime you smell those red fruits like raspberry or strawberry or red currant, those tend to come from grapes like Pinot Noir and Grenache. So if you want to do that party trick and put your nose in and be like, oh yeah, it's definitely redolent of red fruits, and I'm pretty sure they used a little Pinot Noir in that blend, you could do that, impress all your friends. I also now want to look for the Riesling component. So Riesling tends to be really kind of bright and high toned and have some acidity and also some citrus notes, like even that lime zest, which Biz is going to put into the ceviche with us. I think I usually find that in Riesling. And I definitely kind of find that here as well. And the contribution of a grape like Muscat is usually perfumey florals. So they add Muscat to blends and they make Moscato d'Asti out of it, right? Like a sweet style of sparkling wine from Italy, from the north of Italy. Muscat will add kind of the florals. And we did a whole episode on florals, which was so fun a couple weeks ago, where we drank some wines that definitely had floral notes. So you love that. This wine does have a little bit of that. So I don't know if everybody who's drinking from the can is finding that, but I definitely find some white florals here, which is the contribution from the Muscat. So I think it's really interesting to kind of look in and see what the grape varietals are and try to break that down and see if you can find those aromas. I know that some people in the audience, Biz, I think you have a rosé called La Galope, which is one of the popular ones that's available at Mariano's too. And that one is also blended wine with a lot of different red wine grapes from the south of France.
And no bottle opener.
No bottle opener. I love me a screw cap. I mean, I
do too.
There's no shame in that screw cap game. Listen, there are a lot of serious winemakers that do screw caps, and generally what that tells us is the winemaker designed that wine to be drunk like now, right? If you're not worried about buying something, a Vin de Garde, which is a wine that you want to lie down and age a little bit, a screw top is great, right? Because they made the wine, they capped it with a screw cap, they sent it to us, and we're just going to open that thing up. We don't have to worry.
Oh, I guess I never really thought about that. Is so you really want to buy, if you're going to store something, you want to make sure that's got a cork in it?
Generally, the history shows that cork is a little better for Vin de Garde or things that we want to age a little bit, because you want the oxygen flow to be kind of gentle, and sort of the test of time has showed us in bottles that are uncorked, that are under cork, they like to say, they evolve a little more gracefully, right? So because you
what's the oldest bottle of wine you've had?
Let's see. So I've had a Chateau Yquem, which is a very famous dessert wine, a Sauterne from France, near the Bordeaux region, in the Bordeaux region, from 1847. I've had some 1790s Madeira and sherry, those fortified wines. So sweet wines, sugar is actually a preservative for wine. So a lot of times the wines that really age for decades successfully and don't taste like yucky stuff at the other end of all that aging are either high alcohol or have a good bit of sugar at the start, or both, because those are natural preservatives for wine. So yes, it is possible to drink wines that are centuries old and have a really pretty fantastic experience. Yeah, I would say the most expensive bottle I ever sold also in a dining room was that 1847 Chateau Yquem. I was terrified. I had to take 3 flights of stairs from the cellar to bring it to the dining room. And I had
How much did that cost?
It was a $14,000 half bottle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was delicious. If you've ever had kind of a dessert wine, you know, like Farniente Dolce or some kind of Muscat, it's that really kind of dark, golden and almost verging on amber sort of color. And what's interesting about wines that age like this, you know, we're getting a couple of notes and it's a little simple. If this were a wine for aging and we were having it centuries later and it was designed to age, it would be just a lot more complex. Like, you know, for a younger wine, you might say, oh, I get strawberries and watermelon and some florals. When you're tasting something that's 100 years old, that's been properly stored, you know, all of a sudden an avalanche of poetry, and it really kind of overtakes you and your credit card. But
Yeah.
if they did a great job, it can really overtake you. So anyway, we're doing 2 wines, like we said, that are really fantastic with ceviche and bright light dishes, because these are 2 styles of wine, the Riesling that we're going to try together later, that really handle acidity well. And Biz's recipe is so nicely balanced and has the juice in it. And those juices have really nice acidity. So, you know, if you did kind of a buttery, toasty, oaky Chardonnay, that might be tough to do with a ceviche or a dish like this that has citrus, or, you know, a Cabernet Sauvignon might have a hard time as well. But if you do a wine that's light and bright, and we always say bright, to me, that's interchangeable with acid, because nobody wants you to come to the table and be like, oh yeah, I brought you this wine, it's real acidic. Doesn't sound nice. So we say bright and high toned. And we have 2 bright, lifting, refreshing styles of wine to drink together today. So cheers to everyone who's having canned wine or anything lovely to drink. I hope you like it. It's, you know, you buy it in a 6-pack. It's just so easy and delicious, and you can keep it in the can or you can pour it to any kind of glass. I think it's a nice quaffer.
I agree, especially if you ice it down and when it gets really warm outside, this is going to be really refreshing. I really do like this a lot. This is great.
I like it very much. That watermelon that they talk about.
It totally tastes like a watermelon Jolly Rancher kind of.
Like a watermelon Jolly Rancher, but without the sugar. There's, you know, the fruit on the nose, which tells your brain like, oh, it's going to be sweet. But, you know, this one has a hint of residual sugar, but it's mostly dry.
I think that's been the most fun for all of us during this, you know, pandemic, and when we're all here, we learn about cool wines and cool things that we never knew before. I've never actually made ceviche before, so that's why I'm excited for Biz's recipe, but it's a great way to learn about stuff that we may not have tried before, so.
Love it.
So I don't think there's any questions right now for Belinda on the rosé, but I'm sure there'll be some coming up because this is a smart group. But Biz, ceviche time.
Yes, and this is so easy because this is like a cheater ceviche. A lot of times you have raw shrimp, and the acidity and the limes, the orange juice actually cooks the shrimp, but nobody has time for that. I don't have time for that. So this is just frozen cooked shrimp, and it was actually on sale last week for $6.88 a bag, for a 12-ounce bag. It's $1.37 a serving, so it's super affordable. And this is what it looks like in the bag. And if you're in an area, especially like in Chicago, where you're not near a body of water that gets fresh seafood, always buy frozen, because that's how the grocery store gets it. So the only time I get it if it's already defrosted because if I'm really in a pinch and I have to do something really with it right away. Otherwise, the store has just defrosted it for you as a convenience. It's super cheap. This took me all of about 15 minutes to defrost in water. It's already peeled, deveined. There's no shell or anything like that. So it is going to be super easy to make this recipe. The only thing I will say is that if you're not eating it right away, just wait to add the avocado until the very end, until you're just about to serve it. Otherwise, it gets mushy. These might be a little bit overripe, but we'll see. Can you see that's brown right there? That means it's probably already brown on the inside, but we'll take a look and see. So all I'm going to do is, I've already chopped everything, so it's pretty easy. I hate tomato seeds. Does anyone else hate tomato seeds? Like, they gross me out like so much. Like, I don't even know why. So to get the seeds out super quick, I just cut it in half and then just take a spoon like that. Let me get this over here. So, and just scoop it all the way around. And then super easy. And then you just cut the skin and then it's delicious, because that's nasty right there. Like, when I see people like do, like, my daughter will put like sliced tomato on a sandwich and it just like grosses me out. I don't know why. So I don't do that. So I'm just going to chop up this shrimp really. It's going to take hardly any time at all. And just rough chop everything. It's not, you know, you can use crackers with this. I've used this on top of tostados. I've actually thrown leftovers in a taco. I've even put it over pasta, because I am the leftover queen, in case anyone didn't know that about me. I hate food waste. So that's one of the reasons I like shopping at Mariano's from the sale paper, is that's how I grocery shop. It's like, if chicken's not on sale that week, I'm not making chicken that week. But if it's on sale, I'm going to stock up. But alternatively, I think that what happens when people spend too much money on groceries is that you have all these ideas that you're going to make a million things that week. You're like all gung ho. And then by like Tuesday, you're like, yeah, I didn't want pork chops this week. And then now you got pork chops in your freezer. And then the next week you forget the pork chops are in there. So I like to try to keep an inventory of everything I have. Then Friday night, I write everything down: pantry, fridge, freezer, and then see what I have and then see what's on sale. And then meal plan from those things that I have. And I routinely spend about $40 to $45 a week just for myself on groceries, because I do eat out of my pantry and fridge. And then about every 2 months, Mariano's has like all their canned goods on sale, 10 for 10. That's when I stock up, and I just leave them in the pantry, and then I'm good to go. I can make chili anytime I want, stuff like that. So now, almost done with that. And the recipe, Sarah's going to email this out, right?
Yep, it was already listed, but she's going to email. But I will say that shrimp that Biz is using, we actually use that in our house as a staple. We always have a bag or two, because it's great, like shrimp scampi, last minute dinner. It's a great, like, for anything. I mean, we use it.
Yeah. And it's 0 points on Weight Watchers. Yay. Actually, without the avocado, this whole recipe is 0 points on Weight Watchers, because it's all shrimp. And so now I'm just adding the diced tomatoes to here. And then probably cut too many cucumbers. I'll do that. And then I did take the seeds out of the jalapeno. You just cut it in half, use a spoon, scrape out the seeds. That's where all the heat is. I like things spicy, but I know that everyone else doesn't like it spicy. So that's what I'm doing there. And then for microplaning, if you don't have a microplane, Andrea from the chopping block, this is the first time I used one, was when I worked at the chopping block. It's a recreational cooking school in Chicago. And I would just see people going like to town, like getting all that, like, look at how much stuff. But what I learned is that the teeth only go one way. So when you go like that, you're dulling it, and you can't sharpen this. There's too many teeth in here. So you always want to just go in one direction. It catches it all right there. So you're done. You only want to go to the white.
Oh my God, I'm using it backwards this entire time. I always did it the other way.
Oh no, that's right. So when you could do the whole lime just in one sweep. And then when you're done, you just turn it upside down and it goes in your bowl.
Busy just changed my life too. I've always done it before. So does that mean
always? Yeah, always.
Yeah, like you're getting pith too, right? Is that what we were doing?
And it stops. The teeth are so shallow, it really stops you before you get to any of that pith that's too bitter. So that's that. I'm going to add a little bit of the juice for the lime. I'm going to do a little bit of orange juice as well. And we'll see how the avocados are.
lately also to talk about the waste thing, I've actually, if I do buy a lot of lemons and limes every week. So I like to eat, we have cocktail classes on Thursday. So I have ample amounts, but I've been zesting them and saving it just because I don't want to waste it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can totally do that. So let me just dump that. And I actually like a little bit orange juice in my ceviche just to sweeten it up a little bit. And even though I've got jalapenos in there, I put crushed red pepper in just about everything. Oh, and you'll notice that there's no onions because I hate onions. So there will never be an onion. So feel free to put onions in this if you like. Salted at the end.
Biz, do you leave the seeds in the cucumber or take them out?
Sorry about that?
Do you leave the seeds in the cucumber or do you take them out?
I do. I buy the English cucumbers, the long ones that come in the plastic. So there's no seeds. You can eat the skin. It's fine. So let's see how this avocado is. Maybe we'll see. It's always like winning the lottery when you open this and it's like good. It's not bad. There's a couple bad spots.
Very large. It seems very large.
Yeah, it's fine. So then you just take your knife and take out the seed like that. And then try to get rid of the seed. I'm just gonna go with another knife. There we go. Here we go. And then to slice an avocado, just gently, don't go all the way through so you don't cut your finger. You just go that way and this way. Just really quick, so it's like a diagonal, and then you can just scoop it all out in one. And there's no dicing. So then so what you could do is you could marinate this for like 30 minutes in your refrigerator. It's gonna taste fine just now. But like I said, if you decide to make it like this makes a lot, I would not have, if I didn't think I was gonna eat this whole thing tonight, which I might send some over to my neighbors, add the avocado just before you're about to eat it, because otherwise it kind of gets all mushy and stuff like that. And that is like basically it. And you can use chips. I have to say that these are like my new favorite chips.
I haven't tried them yet.
I have not tried them either. They're Southwest and they have like a little bit of like seasoning on them.
Oh, wow.
They're delicious, super thin. But these are also my other favorite. The blue corn tortillas are like always like my go-to. And you can serve this just in a bowl like this, get a plate, put a lot of chips around it. You can, pita chips, doesn't have to be tortilla chips. And then just give it a taste. Because I always taste my food. Because how do you know if I like it if I don't taste it?
She likes it. I think she likes it.
It's so light and refreshing. It's so good. And it literally takes
it's an awesome
5 minutes to put together. There's no cooking involved. Great for the summer.
That was so fast too. Just like watching you put it together, and it's so fresh, and like there's all the different vegetables and the colors and.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only thing it needs a little bit more salt and maybe a little bit more crushed red pepper, because I like it spicy.
Biz, is this like an okay thing to like then keep the leftovers in the refrigerator and eat the next day, or take for lunch somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Without the avocado, it'll last in your refrigerator for 2 to 3 days. I think after the third day, the shrimp's gonna like kind of break down because of the acidity and the orange and the lime. But yeah, you got a good 2 to 3 days out of this for sure.
Yum.
And it's so good. So
yeah, what other seafood can you put in there? Like, I mean, we all love shrimp, I'm sure, but like
you could probably do, what would be really good is bay scallops. So Mariano sells bay scallops frozen, and they're like the little baby ones. Same thing, you would just defrost it in water. Those, I might pan fry those just for like a minute, just to kind of cook them, and then when I'm ready, put the ceviche together with the bay scallops.
Right.
I'm not sure. I've tried. Well, you could eat raw scallops. Like they do scallops like raw on some menus. So I think that might be fine. Maybe if they're so tiny, the acidity might cook them correctly. But I haven't tried that. So, but that's a good idea.
Oh, I love it. It looks amazing. Like super rich.
Yeah. So good.
It looks like Belinda made some too.
I did.
Cool.
Yay!
I'm so excited. That's why I asked. I'm like, I made enough for 4 and it's just me.
Yeah, I know. So my daughter and her husband live with me, but they don't eat any of the food I make. So this will probably go over to the neighbors.
That's good. Your neighbors love you very much. I would
They
like
do. They do.
All right, so I'm sure we'll have more questions, but Julian would like to know, can you use mahi or ahi tuna?
Ooh, you know what? I would not waste ahi tuna on something like this. I would do everything without the seafood and then put that on top of the ahi tuna,
Oh,
because that's pretty expensive.
Yes,
So,
it is.
And you want to like enjoy that and then make this as like a salad to go on top of it, like a cucumber avocado salad. I think that'd be really good.
All right, we're gonna spotlight Heath and Teresa's family because that looks amazing. They always nail it.
Hey, nice job.
It looks awesome.
So amazing.
Who made that today? Is that Mackenzie or did the parents make it? I knew it.
So Mackenzie doesn't like ceviche, so we made this one tonight, but she helped a little bit.
Oh, it looks really nice. You guys honestly like nail your presentation every time. I'm so proud of you.
Look at it.
Looks gorgeous.
Instagrammable.
out the china for you.
Yeah, take a
It is
picture
delicious
and
too.
post it and tag us.
Yeah, that's so fun.
It looks amazing.
And are you having it with the rosé? How's it doing? That should be a really good match.
I
Ooh, I
drank
should
all the
try it
rosé already.
Good job on that.
I'm ready for the Riesling.
Okay.
Oh, Roro, my mom wants to know if you can use crab meat.
Oh.
Yes, could you use crab meat? That would be delicious.
Ro has a big thing of crab meat that I got her, so that's why she's asking. I'll make sure you have the other
absolutely.
stuff, Ro.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
That'd
that
be
looks
really good.
great. Yeah, Lori Hunt, thanks for reminding me because they always do such a nice job with their food. That's amazing. Carol, the brand of the shrimp, Biz, do you still have that bag? It's like Fisherman's Reserve, I think, from our stores. Fisherman's Reserve. It's excellent. We use it all the time.
It's so good. And like every 3 weeks it goes on sale for less than $7 a bag. And
Nice.
it's
Which is great.
so reasonable.
One quick thing I want to point out about Biz before we move to the next one with Belinda is I really admire Biz for a lot of reasons, but she shops at Circular like a boss. I don't know. She told me about it one day and I was like, you are joking. Like, I mean, I learned so much from her and I actually see the Circular, obviously, because I work for Mariano's. And it's just amazing what you do and how you meal plan and you figure out what to buy. I mean, it's just really, it's so cool.
Well, and I think that's the problem that people overspend is because they just go to the store and I mean, I could spend 2 hours in the store and I like to touch everything, but not everything makes it into my cart because I know that it's not physically possible to make all the things in the next 7 days. But I think when people go and they go, oh, this looks good, this looks good, this looks good, and they get to the register, they spend $175 and they're like, cool, we're set. Get home and they're like, now what? And then somebody finds a recipe for some Vietnamese beef noodle dish and then goes out to the store and then sees more stuff. And I actually have a friend of mine who I'm trying to like help her budget a little bit more. She will not be named, but she has a family of 4 and she spends roughly $2,000 a month on groceries. And they go out to eat 2 times, well, they used to go out to eat at least twice a week. So I was like, what do you do? But she goes shopping every day. And then, you know, it adds up, you know, $75 here, $60 there. And then, you know, and then she ends up coming home and has all this food and then maybe they don't want to eat it. So then, but she's already done with that recipe. She doesn't want to use it anymore. And then, you know, and so on and so forth. But you got to have a plan before you go, oh, you know what? I forgot to add the cilantro.
Oh my gosh, we forgot.
Yeah.
It's going to be even prettier.
I puffy heart cilantro. So if you hate it, I will tell you that the stems have all the soapy taste. So if you don't like, I love it. I use the stems. I use everything in the cilantro from stem to leaf. If you don't like that, the higher you go up, the less soapy it tastes. But I think some people just are genetically designed not to like cilantro. So you could add parsley in here if you don't like cilantro, but I like the flavor of cilantro. So
that does look even prettier. All right.
We are.
Next one. We don't want to keep anyone
Okay.
waiting.
So if anybody has some Riesling, I know we have a couple different Rieslings out there, which I'm excited about. So Sarah and Amanda and Biz have Kung Fu, and I have one called Dr. Lawson. So Riesling is a really contentious one for a lot of people. I will tell you that like all sommeliers are obsessed with Riesling because we all have an acid trip, a need for an acid trip. Like we drink so much wine that you need something that's really refreshing. And so Riesling can pretty invariably help with that. And that's why Riesling is a great match for the ceviche. So Riesling grows in a lot of different soils, but tends to do best in cooler climate areas. So the Kung Fu and the Dr. Lawson Riesling, Washington State, Oregon in the US, you know, you find them from Germany, obviously, and a lot of different places, but typically you're looking for cool climate terroirs, which is another fun way to show the sommelier, your boss, when we get to go to restaurants. Again, you tell them that, you know, we're really looking for white wine varietals and Rieslings from cooler climates. And they'll be like, oh, this person really knows what they're doing. I need to send them something like an extra course. That's what usually happens. So I love this white wine so much. And it does have just a hint of RS, we call it, which is just a hint of residual sugar, just a hint of sweetness. But that's a good thing when it comes to pairing with food. Just a little bit of sugar can kind of even things out just a little bit. And especially when we have, you know, the orange juice and also the lime juice in this recipe, having just a bit of sweetness in the wine can make everything a little rounder and just make it sort of a more pleasant experience. I used to think that Riesling was the only wine that was good with Chinese food takeout. I don't know about you, but when I get Chinese food takeout, I love all the fiery stuff, the stuff with the peppers and the stuff that's a little hot. And this was the wine that can kind of calm you down. I know that a lot of us learn that when you eat a pepper that's super hot, the only way to calm it down is to drink milk. Well, milk is all fine and good, but I'd rather drink wine when my mouth is on fire to help me out just a little bit. So I chose this Riesling and also the Rosé because we were doing this like light, bright ceviche kind of situation. And it's really fun. And these are easy sippers. I also like this kind of wine, the Kung Fu or the Dr. Lawson Riesling for breakfast. You know, like if you like a little sweet in your breakfast, like my dad really likes the McDonald's McGriddle. I think that's because the syrup is in the pancake that is supposed to be the bread in that whole situation. But, you know, if you like kind of pastries with fruit and stuff like that and some sweet flavors, I think it's really hard to start the day with a Napa Valley Cabernet, but it's really lovely to start the day with a Riesling. And you can tell your spouse or whoever's looking at you funny when you open and pour one of these at 9 a.m. that I told you to. They can call me. But so this kind of wine is really fun. And then Amanda thought it would be really fun to also investigate a Sangria recipe because we've been opening a lot of great bottles together. And since I don't have a drinking partner here, I often have a bit of wine left. And so Sangria, although Sangria has a weird reputation right now, just like Riesling does. There's a lot of people who say they don't love Riesling because they don't love sweet wine, but maybe it's not your choice for just sipping by itself. But I do think that it definitely has a place at your table when you want a wine that's going to be really delicious with what you're cooking and what you're going to be eating. So, you know, Sangria is the same. So there are a lot of people that bottle Sangria now. I think there's a very famous shock jock who makes a product called Mangria. I mean, does anyone want to confess to having that in their refrigerator? No?
I'll try it.
Marley says she has some Mangria. That's amazing. So I think, you know, that's a delicious quaff too. It's wine, it's got fruit flavors, it's got a little bit of sugar added, but I love to use the trick, which is really what they always did when they were making sangria in Spain or in Europe. You use the leftover wine and you add whatever fruit you have in on your counter, in your fridge, in your kitchen, and you slice it all up and add it in. And you add a couple things. So Amanda, if I may, I'm going to use my wine and make a little sangria for everyone.
I am always with you 100%, Belinda.
Let's do it. So that wine is delicious. I can drink the whole bottle by myself today, but I'm going to use it to make another thing. So
well, the Kung Fu is delicious. I mean, yes, you're right. I mean, this, I don't have the Dr. Lucen, but this is so delicious. Like I really
nicely balanced. Yeah. I mean, these wines are, not a lot of people love to drink a wine that has a little hint of sweetness in it, which it has just a hint, but it's so nicely balanced that it's like what you want from an aperitif or a digestif. You know, and like I said, at the table, it's fantastic. Some wines that have a lot of tannin and are bone dry are really difficult with food. And when you're pairing food and wine together, you know, you want 1 + 1 to be like infinity and really amazing, where they just kind of come together. And, you know, we've talked a bit about food wine pairing, and I think that Riesling is one of those wines. It's kind of a Terminator wine, the Kung Fu, the Dr. Lawson. Rieslings are great, and you have a couple of them in the stores, which is really fun. So I definitely encourage everybody, if you're looking for a wine that's not going to fight with the dish that you made, Riesling is going to be great. And it's also a white wine that's great with meat. Like if you're doing a pork dish, like a pork and apples dish would be so good. You know, any kind of meat dishes that have a fruit component, or if you're doing like your roasted chicken with all the lemons, which people love to do, that's such a good white wine dish and such a good Riesling dish. But we're now going to talk about that situation where you didn't finish that bottle or you didn't finish that can and you don't know what to do with it. So sangria is an answer. And of course, you can make a big old pitcher of sangria, but I don't know. If I drink this, you're all getting weird phone calls from me. So what you can do at home is make like a single serve sangria. So
I was ready for the big one. I'll get a small one.
You can do whatever you want, Amanda. You've got a little clan there, so Billy will help you. But so I froze my orange juice because you have basically a couple of components in a sangria. You have the wine that you want to use up or you want to enjoy in another way. You have some kind of fruit and fruit juice, and then you also use some kind of spirit. And Amanda, this is a lot like my frosé recipe. You don't have to measure, but it's all about the proportions that you like. So I like to say 1 to 1 to 1. So an equivalent amount of wine to an equivalent amount of juice and fruit to an equivalent amount of spirit. So, you know, Grand Marnier, if you have some of that at your bar, or some kind of triple sec, or Chambord, or Midori, that melon liqueur, which is so fun. Any of those like fruity liqueurs that are at the back bar that you're like, oh, what do I do with it? I don't want to drink it by itself. It's too challenging to make into a cocktail. This is an amazing way to utilize. And what's fun is you can also choose colors so that you'll end up with a sangria in the color that you want. And my favorite part of these recipes and the way that I like to do them is we don't do any added sugar. Most bartenders out there, and maybe there's a good Weight Watchers thing here, you know, I don't love when they use simple syrup, and almost like every cocktail that I see out there and order at, you know, fancy cocktail bar has a simple syrup element, and I'm trying so hard to not use sugar. So the sugar comes from the ripe fruit and also from the liqueur. So what liqueur are you going to use, Amanda, for yours?
I just went and grabbed Cointreau because that's, I think, the only one that I have.
Perfect. That's awesome. Orange liqueur. I mean, that's going to be delicious. So
Found a grapefruit. I thought I had an orange, but I have a grapefruit.
there you go. So now you're going to, and I started slicing while Biz was talking, and like, I even love, have you had a cucumber martini before? I love cucumber in a cocktail. Cucumber and white wine is pretty delicious together, and we're going to use white wine and rosé to make this sangria. I have some apple that's starting to get a little ripe. It doesn't have to be beautiful here because it's going to be in liquid. There's some white peaches. I wanted to see how those were doing in the season. And then, like I said, I froze my orange juice into ice cubes, but you can also just add orange juice, grapefruit juice, lemon juice, lime juice, pretty much anything. This is kind of like a kitchen sink sort of cocktail situation. And I'm adding to mine, Amanda, I've got some apple, and I'm putting in some peaches. I'm just making like a little individual one. I'm also going to put some cucumber.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Biz is going. There goes Biz.
So put it all into a pitcher or a glass, however you want to do it.
Doing a single serve.
When you make this sangria, you can make big, have it kind of like big mason or ball jar, have it in the fridge. It's only going to get better as it sort of all melds together. And there's a good bit of alcohol in it, so it's pretty well preserved. It's not going to.
I also got star fruit.
Oh, girl, there you go.
That looks amazing.
I love any beautiful fruit, right? Dragon fruit, you could do slices of dragon fruit. Blood oranges, when you guys have those at Mariano's, it always makes me really happy. I've got like some ugly limes where, you know, and the ones that I zested on the outside. All of that. Jalapenos. Some people love spicy margaritas and spicy cocktails. I do too. So I'm going to put, well, listen, you can put anything you want. I'm always a little jealous of the bartenders because they can just keep adding things until the whole is delicious, which is a little harder than what the winemakers have to do, where they have to hope and pray for a great season and enough sunshine, enough rain so that the grapes are great, and they can't really add much. So I've got all this fun stuff. If you have some herbs, you could put some mint in there if you like that. I've got a ton of rosemary. Hell, you could even do cilantro and make kind of like a ceviche.
I'm gonna totally do that.
Yeah, put a little cilantro.
Do it.
I love cilantro in my margarita. I think it's delicious. All right, so whenever you're ready and you've got all the fun stuff that you think would make a delicious flavored drink, now I'm gonna take my Riesling and I'm gonna pour it right in.
Linda, I also had a lot of frozen fruit that I thought would be good.
Oh, that's right. I have some blueberries too. Blueberries, strawberries. I also like to freeze, as Biz was talking about, you know, not wasting. You know that moment when you bought all that fresh squeezed juice and you're like, uh-oh, it's about to turn. It's going to go bad. I freeze it all into ice cubes and keep it in a bag in the freezer so that you can
love that idea.
Orange juice, ice cubes for your orange juice, but also you can add a little orange juice or lime juice to your cocktail that way, and it doesn't get diluted. Like you know, I love no waste, and so I freeze everything because I never get to it. I never finish it. I've tried freezing.
This tastes amazing.
Yeah.
With the cilantro. So I have cucumber, apple, star fruit, and cilantro, the Riesling, and a little bit of, I don't have any, I'm not fancy. I don't have liqueur laying around.
You don't have to put liqueur. I think by itself it's probably delicious. And then all these fruits are and vegetables are gonna macerate in the wine. So after you drink it, they're also gonna make a little nice wine fruit salad.
Nice.
Maybe it's my next cookbook, wine fruit salad. And it's really delicious. So, you know, if I got a little bit of my rosé remaining, I can pour that in too. I get to use
this is so refreshing.
Cocktail thing. You could even, if you have some sparkling wine in the freezer or sparkling water to make it bubbly, kind of top it up with some sparkling wine or sparkling water. There's nothing that's not delicious in this mix. I'm not even gonna pour it into a cocktail glass. I'm just gonna put my straw directly in and go with you.
I mean, this looks so pretty. This is like a great way. I saw Heath has his made. Let's like spotlight.
Yay!
Again, the family that like always, oh my God, that looks so good. These look so
Oh my
pretty.
God, way to go. That's awesome. I mean, this is anything. I have frozen blueberries and strawberries and all kinds of stuff that I use for smoothies. There you go.
There we
There's
go.
nothing
I've got
you put in there. We see
strawberries,
cherries.
blackberries, and blueberries, and an orange slice for extra.
Nice job. So yeah, so that's my version of sangria. It's not quite traditional. I even forgot to put in my liqueur, but I've got some Grand Marnier, and I'm gonna put a little bit of that to make it a little more boozy, but you don't have to. You can if you want. And then that's it. I also love to garnish with herbs. I mean, I'm not even really buying flowers these days anymore because I'm trying to save a little money. So I think it's really fun to just boop.
Those look great. That rosemary looks excellent.
Right, and it just looks like, I think it grew a little bit since I put it in the water 2 weeks ago. And so, you know, I think adding some fresh herbs and just having come gently sticking out, or flowers or anything that you have, makes this look like, you know, Michelin star situation.
Love it.
Just got the jalapeno. The jalapeno was a great addition. Look what this is. That looks so festive. And like, I love that we all made it, but they're all so different.
Yeah. So I also like sometimes to make them in different colors, right? So this one is kind of a yellow one. You could do one that's, you know, all green with all green ingredients, and that would be really beautiful. You could make a darker one if you did red wine and added like Chambord or a darker spirit to it. I think that's really fun too. But I don't know. This is such a good party one too. I mean, you make jugs of this.
You could also do like a sangria bar. Is like just have everything there and everyone can just add what they want. That's a really good idea.
And I mean,
I love that idea.
All stuff that you probably have already. It's easy, and you just throw it all in, and you look like a super rock star celebrity bartender / sommelier.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Which you are.
Yeah, that's you anyway.
Have fun. And like this, I don't like to waste anything.
Well, I mean, mean, I think right now that's super important. We've tried as a family to like make sure we're meal planning and using everything. And although even for the class we did last night with Tony, I had like 95% of the stuff at home already. So that was great.
That's
But,
nice.
and tonight too, I think I only bought the blood orange because I wanted to be festive, but.
We had
Savona says a sangria bar at her next party. I love that idea.
yeah,
She was my Weight Watcher leader, but she moved back to Tennessee. So hi, I'm so glad you joined.
slice up all the fruit, just have it all out there. You know, Biz, to your point, I really love that too when I'm entertaining, and Amanda knows I love to entertain like all the time in real life when we get through this and we can do that again. You know, it's people try to do really complicated cocktails, and I'm like, if I have to stir and customize the vermouth on someone's cocktail as they walk in the door, that's no fun. It's way more fun for them to walk right in. You can direct them to your bar and let them kind of put together their perfect aperitif and their perfect cocktail so that they can relax, and you can relax too and do other parts of your hosting duties. I love that.
Love that idea. And it just looks so pretty. I mean,
Looks great.
yeah.
I love farm cocktails and garden cocktails. You know, a lot of those kind of celebrity bartenders grow all their own herbs and then they'll go and snip them right before they put them into your glass. So this is a little bit like that idea. And like I said, there's every option possible. I mean, I don't know that I'd put like a fried chicken leg into this or anything, but pretty much.
That sounds actually really good.
Like Bloody Mary's style with a cheeseburger on the Bloody
Yeah,
Mary.
with a cheeseburger that's like this much food on top of your drink.
I did do that once. I did. I couldn't help it.
Oh, I remember you doing that with Billy.
I had a little wedge of the burger and I put it on a.
I love it.
Like when I think that we don't just taste the food and smell the food, but we also appreciate it with our eyes. So when you can make it really beautiful, and there are a lot of really simple ways to do that with things that you already have in the house. I mean, the herbs that I always grow inside die, but you know, when I buy them, put them in water, they actually last for quite a long time. So, and then you also, when you put in an herb or the jalapeno or whatever, you kind of smell it as you're.
It makes it smell so good.
Right? Like when you go in to taste it, you're also getting the aromas of the herb, which adds to sort of the complexity of the drink, which I think is really fun. And I could add a little red wine in here. It'd still be delicious. We just want to balance the flavors like you do for any kind of dish that you put on the table. Keep tasting. You should definitely keep tasting until you have
make this like a spritzer and add, I know you like to add champagne and bubbles, but could you add like a soda water or like a LaCroix or a Pellegrino?
Oh yeah. Well, I just got LaCroix hibiscus, which you guys carry in the store. I've been trying to get for a while, and it's really good. It's my new favorite LaCroix flavor. My favorite bubbly flavor is grapefruit, but my favorite LaCroix flavor is hibiscus. It's fantastic. And so perfumey and floral and fruity. And that would be a great one to top on these, which also takes the alcohol level just down a little bit. I increased the alcohol level by adding the Grand Marnier, and you added a little Cointreau. But you can do whatever you want. And I think that's the point, like people get really crazy about measurements for cocktail recipes and things like that and drink recipes, but I think you just keep adding until it's delicious to you.
So Carla said that LaCroix has limoncello.
Ooh, that's a newer one.
So
I've not seen that.
That would be good.
Find that one. Yeah.
That'll be real good on this drink too. Mm-hmm.
We should.
Oh,
we
and Lori
have
says
it
it's
at the
amazing too.
store.
Hey, Lori.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
Love
fun.
it.
So that's my little tip and trick. And like I said, if you've got a couple bottles of wine that have been open for a couple days and you don't know if they're perfect for drinking by themselves anymore, this is an amazing way to use it. Or cooking. I mean, I know there are a lot of great recipes and ways to use the white and red wine to cook and make sauces and things like that. But I love to do it this way.
I like your idea better.
Listen,
Better than red wine and pasta sauce.
Yes.
There you go. I got a lot. Amanda, I'm so glad you and Biz liked the recipe. I'm so happy to see a couple people made it. That makes me very happy.
It's awesome. It's so fun. And I love like Heath just did it on the fly. He didn't even know we were doing sangria and he had all the stuff. So it all worked out.
Very, very smart. I think the other piece of this is that I love those silicone ice cube molds. You know how all the fancy cocktail bars always use those very firm cubes because they love the dilution rate. I love those molds, not just to make a good bartender cocktail ice, but also to save things like pesto and the buttermilk that's about to turn and the juice that, you know, you've left in the refrigerator a little too long and might start fermenting. But, you know, you find a bag of cubes and you're like, okay, what are we going to do here? It's really fun. I've got a little half freezer because this is a small apartment that I live in, and it's filled with cubes of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, stock cubes, cubes of everything.
Sarah, we think her Zoom dropped. So this is like one of our first like Zoom issues, but I think we're coming to a close. But there's a few good things. First of all, Sam and Brandon, thank you so much. Biz and I did purposely match. So we are excited you noticed. Thank you.
There was a plan. There was
a plan. That's okay, Belinda. You look great in your blue purple top. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
Love it. We all tend to match, which is nice because we have a lot of planning that goes into this. Donna loves the ice cube idea. Can you freeze herbs that way too?
Yes. So there's a couple things you can do. Some people will do olive oil and then chop up the herbs. So you have like an olive oil herb cube. Biz might be able to better speak to this, but I've cooked with those.
I've never done that.
So I always have too much rosemary. And so, you know, I'll chop up the rosemary and then do olive oil, rosemary cubes so that, you know, you have a recipe that'll be great with that. You kind of use that in the pot, you know, in the pan before you saute or do whatever. And then, I mean, there's a million ways. Like I'm obsessed with pesto, and I never put the pine nuts in the pesto. I just do like the herbs, the olive oil, some citrus juice, and then the cheese. And then I always make way too much. And so I freeze those too. I'm like obsessed with cubes. There's nothing you couldn't cube. I feel like I make rosé wine ice cubes to make my slushies. Amanda knows my frosé is you take kind of a lower alcohol rosé wine and freeze it into cubes. And I worked with a chef once who froze like a pallet, which is about 30 cases of Zinfandel, into ice cubes.
Oh my God.
He used to cook. So every time he needed red wine for a recipe, like a red wine sauce, or to your point, like a red wine, you know, tomato sauce or something, just had cubes, but it makes it compact and like ready to go. And then you just drop it in when you're cooking, which is, I just think, the best trick ever. And I don't have any stock in any silicone ice cube tray companies, but you know, maybe we can start
to go in on that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the best thing is you freeze it into those silicone trays and then you can take it out. And then, you know, I've got bags and bags of like things where the ice cubes are just lined up and they lay flat. And it's also a little bit of a space saver because I've never had like a full size refrigerator. I've always had these little baby ones. Buttermilk ranch dressing. I froze like all kinds of dips. I've frozen, like I said, pestos, hummus, all those kinds of things where I always tend to make too much.
Mm-hmm. All right, I love that.
Awesome.
We do have a few questions, but Biz, you talk a lot about freezing those garlic cloves that you like.
I do because I buy at Mariano's, they have a giant bag for on sale, usually $3.99, not on sale $5 for this giant bag, but they go bad fast because they're already peeled. So I just throw them on a cookie sheet individually, let them freeze for 30 minutes, and then throw them in a Ziploc bag. Then they stay separated. If I need one or two cloves, and even though they're frozen, they dice up just as well as regular, or I can throw them in like a stock or soup or something like that, let them, you know, dissolve that way. And it's so much easier because I know how to peel garlic, but it's just like, you know, getting your knife and doing this and then trying to get, you know, all the tissue. I was like, I don't have time for that.
You could be making sangria. You don't have time.
Yeah, exactly.
We all have time for making sangria. That's easy.
Yeah, that's
Lori has a really good question, but it might be a whole other episode. Is I don't have a liquor bar, and what good spirits would be good to have on hand?
I would say it's anything you like. I mean, it's, you know, I have friends that are like white spirits only, right? Like they love tequila with no age, and they love gin, and they love vodka, and that's great. But I feel like these days, so this sangria, we could have made it with bourbon. You know what I mean? If you're like a whiskey, brown spirits, or like tequila reposado person, I think making any kinds of drinks are just about balancing the flavors and the alcohol levels, right? So the cool thing is that wine is an incredible partner with almost any spirit. And people don't talk about that much. That like you could take the wine and you can do things with it and have it marry with a lot of different things. So I think you should just have a bar with what you like. I do like having personally fruit flavored liqueurs, right? Because I don't like to use simple syrup like they do, as I mentioned earlier, in a lot of the cocktails. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, you need that 1-to-1 simple syrup, which is 1 part sugar, 1 part water, and it makes this kind of rich, viscous syrup, and it adds texture to cocktails and also adds sweetness. I like to add the sweetness with a sort of more natural products, i.e. ripe fruits, or with a fruit liqueur. And there are tons of them out there, right? Like cherry liqueurs and banana liqueurs. There's like everything. What's the one that we had together, Amanda? The butter liqueur?
Oh, yes, that was, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name.
Butterscotch schnapps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
I think it's an interesting way, and there's so amazing, like historic centuries old liqueur makers that, you know, allow you to add a little bit of flavor and richness without doing simple syrup. Like they're made from fruits and all kinds of different things. So I like to have something like that also at my bar. Like the one that I have is Grand Marnier. I love it. I've always loved it. So I added it into almost everything, into frosé, into the sangria, into margaritas and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's nice to have one of those too. And then someone just said that I use tequila. Yeah, tequila. I mean, we're doing this Bloody Mary thing on Sunday, Amanda, and the recipe says vodka, but I'm using tequila.
I mean, why not? It's they're replaceable. What is ranch water? I hear about it, but I don't really think I know what it is.
Is it moonshine or something? I'm not sure.
No, it's
I think it's like a
tequila
drink.
and water, or tequila and Lori, tell them what it is. I think it's tequila and sparkling water or something, but a lot of Weight
Wait,
Watcher
Lori,
people are
we're
doing it.
spotlighting you. Sorry, you brought up something that piqued our interest, so hold on.
It's the sparkling water. It's a lemon lime sparkling water with tequila.
Okay.
And lime juice.
Yes.
Fresh lime.
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
It's so
Sounds
good.
amazing.
Yeah. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
And
So that's the first thing I added for the spirit was the tequila, but I'm more like this. I just have the wine. I don't really know. So
sometimes you want to bump it up a little bit. You want to bump up the party.
Yeah, I mean, it's Wednesday.
Yeah. I was actually thinking, you know, you've seen some of that Instagram stuff where people take like beers and they do those little airport bottles of spirit. And
oh yeah.
dump them in and all that kind of stuff. Like, you could do that with your canned rosé wine too. Why not? Tequila, canned rosé, a lot of lime. That might be an interesting party. We would all not be able to string together a sentence right now, but it would be fun.
I just tried the sangria.
Got some heat.
Billy,
We put jalapeno in it.
yeah. Does Billy like spicy? We're all into it.
He does, but I don't think he likes this.
Mm.
I do, so that's all that matters.
That's really all that matters.
Judith wants us to repeat it. It was with the ranch water. It's lemon, sparkling water, and tequila.
Lemon lime soda.
Lemon lime soda. Okay.
Lemon lime, you know, sparkling
So
soda.
good. I love that idea.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're wrapping up all the questions. I mean, these were really great. He, of course, always has great comments. He loved the ceviche biz. They've always tried to make it, but it never worked out, but it did today. So they're very excited. This is great. So everyone's like loving all this. And Christina said, I'm doing that right now with cilantro and green onions. So she's freezing those, which is great. So silicone molds are amazing. We all know that.
For every
Yeah, everyone's really excited. These were great tips today. I feel I learned a ton. I've been using that. What do you call it?
The microplane.
Yeah, backwards for my whole life. I'm gonna be 50, and I've been doing it wrong. So now I know. Crazy. All right, Sarah is back on, so we're happy we have her back. But before we leave, Belinda, I want you to talk about what you're doing on Sunday, and then Biz, you should tell everybody what you're up to, so we all know.
Cool. So every Sunday for the last 10 weeks, we've been hosting an event that's at noon Central Time. It's called Virtual Boozy Brunch. So it's not unlike this. It's just a great group of restaurant lovers from all over the globe. We have people from Italy and France and all over come in, and we usually have something to drink and make together, and something to cook and eat together, and then something fun. Like we've had an opera soprano sing for us, and we're going to have a pianist from Gibson's play tunes for us. So it's just kind of a nice way to spend an hour, and everybody who goes is welcome to support the furloughed and laid off sommeliers and bartenders and all of that. But Amanda has been such a great supporter of that and has been with us for almost every week and even hosted one episode of it. So we would love for all of you to join us. I know You'll get an email after this from Sarah that gives a link to join us. It's free. And it's just another nice way to sip and stir and shake and cook and eat together.
It's very
Love
fun.
it.
Thank you.
All right, Biz, what are you up to these days? I signed up for your newsletter today. I can't believe I never did, but now
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. So if you don't know, I have a blog called mybusyKitchen.com. Up in the corner, there's like a little hamburger thing. It has the link below that you can subscribe. I also have a YouTube channel, My Busy Kitchen there. On Instagram, My Busy Kitchen there too. This week, I think my third column is coming out in the Daily Herald. So this week is going to be how to make the perfect steak. Because I was the worst griller, cooker of meat for probably the first 5 years of my marriage. And maybe my mother-in-law, Bonnie, knows that. But I just would look at a recipe and be like, oh, well, this says it needs to cook for 7 minutes. And I would cook it, but maybe my coals were too low or too high, So it was a lot of learning curves. But, and I used the sirloin steak from Mariano's the other day. I got one steak. It was 20 ounces. $11.79. I'm going to get at least 5 meals out of that for less than $2.39 a serving. So I've already made 3 things with it already. So
I've learned so much, Biz. I just want to be your neighbor one.
Yeah, I'd be like, here's some ceviche.
I definitely want to go. I mean, Biz has a great backyard, so I definitely want to go visit. But I also want to go to your WW check-ins out there.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I've never been to one in real life, so I like to.
It's literally from the Marianos. It's like about a 30-second drive. It's like right across the street.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah,
And
that's what I want to do. That's what we've got to figure out, because I would like to do, once we're out and about, is to do like a weekly meal plan from the flyer and like bring people from WW across the street. And I think that'd be a really cool, interactive way to teach people.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a lot of money. Don't eat poached chicken. Nobody's making you do that. Don't eat Greek yogurt just because it's 0 points. You can eat good food. So we'll have to figure something out about that.
When you said that, I think I have 6 poached chicken breasts in my fridge right now.
you might like poached chicken, and that's cool.
And that's fine, but you add some seasonings to it.
I want to eat that. I just have no other resource. I think it's the only thing I can do.
Oh, girl, I'll set you straight.
We had such a great time tonight. Thank you, everyone. This was totally energizing and fun. And we got to learn about new wines, learn about ceviche, and definitely follow Belinda and Biz on all of their adventures, wine, eating, and otherwise. And you know where we are. We're here, so you can come see us anytime.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
We'll talk to everybody soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Bonnie.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for all the nice notes. We adore everyone. Thank you.